Have you ever seen it? A brilliant, absolutely perfect corporate strategy gets rolled out with all this fanfare, and then a year later it's just gone. It happens all the time, right? Well, today we're going to dive into that massive gap between a great plan and actual real-world results. We're going to find out why it exists and, more importantly, how you can fix it.
So let's get right into it. Just how big of a deal is this? Look, this isn't some small, minor hiccup we're talking about. For most companies, failure to execute is the default outcome. And the numbers? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering.
There it is, 90%. According to the Harvard Business Review, a whopping 90% of really well-thought-out strategies fail simply because of bad execution. I mean, just let that sink in. 9 times out of 10, the blueprint is solid, but the building just never gets built. It is a colossal waste of time, of energy, and of money.
And this quote, it just nails the core issue, doesn't it? The problem isn't that the plan was bad or illogical. Not at all. It's because the plan crashed headfirst into the complex, messy, and frankly, wonderful reality of human beings. You know, people aren't lines of code. We act based on our beliefs, our values, and what truly gets us out of bed in the morning.
And look, this isn't just a one-off finding. McKinsey also found that only 20%, just 1/5, of leaders believe their teams are actually any good at putting a strategy into practice. There's this massive canyon between the boardroom where the plan gets made and the front lines where the real work has to happen.
So, this huge gap between the plan and the people, it all points to one fundamental problem. We can call it the human disconnect. It's this one flawed assumption that's kind of baked into almost every strategic plan out there.
Okay, here's the hard truth. Most strategies are designed as if people are just interchangeable parts in some big machine. You know, they assume that if you just give someone a task, they'll go and do it. But that completely ignores the human element, which ironically is the very thing that's supposed to power the whole operation.
And what's so powerful here is the contrast. On one side, you've got the plan. It's rigid, it's top-down, totally impersonal. It sees people as resources to be managed. But then on the other side, you've got the people, the reality. We're all driven by our natural talents, our passions, and this deep-seated desire to contribute something meaningful. The strategy always fails when these two sides can't connect.
So the big question is, how do we build a bridge across that canyon? Well, the answer isn't to make even more detailed, more rigid plans. Nope. The answer is to activate the very people who are supposed to carry the plan out. And this is where a strengths-based approach completely changes the game.
Now, you've probably heard of Clifton's Strengths before, but it's so important to see it as more than just some personality test. It is a performance framework. It's a practical, hands-on tool that's designed to figure out what people do best and then aim those incredible talents at specific goals, like, say, executing a strategy.
Okay, so when you start applying this framework to your strategy, something really cool happens. It gives your teams 3 distinct, super powerful advantages that directly fight back against all the reasons strategies usually fail. Let's break them down.
All right, the 3 keys are clarity of contribution, engaged execution, and adaptive accountability. Now, I know these might sound like buzzwords, but trust me, they're not. They are a literal roadmap for how you get from a plan sitting on a shelf to a team that's actually in motion. Let's dig into each one. First up, clarity of contribution. You see, it is not enough for people to just know what the strategy is. They have to see, really see exactly where they fit into the puzzle. This solves a massive problem, because most employees really want to help, they just have no idea how their unique talents actually move the needle.
And here's what that looks like in the real world. The person on your team who's high in analytical talent, they can pressure test the whole plan's assumptions. The one with communication, they can be its biggest cheerleader, getting everyone else excited. And that person with the strategic talent, they're already mapping out roadblocks and finding detours. All of a sudden, the strategy isn't something that's being done to them, it's something they are personally powering.
Okay, second key, engaged execution. This one is all about energy. Let's face it, executing a strategy is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It gets hard, it gets messy. And when that daily grind really kicks in, engagement is the fuel that keeps people going.
And the data on this is crystal clear. Just look at Gallup's research. Teams that are built around strengths show way higher performance across the board in productivity, collaboration, and especially resilience. When people are genuinely energized by the work they're doing, they can push harder and longer, making the tough work of execution actually possible.
And that brings us to our third and final key, adaptive accountability. Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. No strategy, no matter how brilliant, survives contact with reality perfectly intact. Things change. Curveballs get thrown. A team that knows its strengths can pivot so much faster.
And right here, this is the really profound shift. Accountability stops being about just checking boxes or complying with a to-do list. It becomes about talent deployment. It's about knowing who on the team is naturally wired to crush a new challenge and then empowering them to go do it. Your teams literally start to organize themselves around talent, not just some old-school hierarchy.
So let's pull all of this together. What does this all mean for how we should think about strategy? Well, it means we have to move way beyond just the piece of paper.
If you remember one thing, make it this. A strengths-based approach does not get rid of the need for clear goals or budgets or timelines. It doesn't replace the strategy. It's the missing ingredient. It's what activates it by finally connecting the plan to the human energy that's needed to bring it to life.
And ultimately, that's the real difference, isn't it? A strategy on paper can make all the logical sense in the world, but a strategy that's powered by the genuine strengths of your people, that's one that builds momentum, one that feels alive, one that can actually overcome the friction of the real world.
So I'll leave you with this thought. The next time a big, bold, new plan gets unveiled, I want you to shift your thinking. Don't just focus on the what. The question that will truly change the game is who. Who on this team, using their natural God-given talents, is the absolute best person to make this happen? That, right there, is the difference between a document and a movement.